You guys remember Tim, right? Just in case you don't, let me refresh your memory. Half a decade ago, my all-time favourite interaction on CNBS took place. Tesla stock had been on a massive tear. Year to date was up 141%. It was only just past mid-year. Cathie Wood of ARK Invest talking to the panel, and Melissa Lee, knowing full well that at the time, Tim, who'd been super anti-Tesla, competition's coming, blah, 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 had lost catastrophic amounts of money shorting Tesla stock, decided on air live to ask Tim if he was still shorting Tesla stock. And well, I mean, Tim's reaction speaks for itself.
Thank you very much.
Cathie Wood of ARK Invest. From the bull, we go to the bear. Tim, you still short?
Sorry, so I think you were calling on me.
Well, that's awkward. Now, a lot's changed in the last 5 years. Tim's gone from Tesla's doomed, Tesla's just a car company, the competition's coming, and literally losing crazy amounts of money shorting Tesla stock, to at least not shorting Tesla stock. Although he still needs to try and maintain some credibility by claiming that lots of elements of Tesla's business never made sense, blah, blah, blah. But he's definitely changed his tune and certainly no longer putting his money where his mouth was. Half a decade later, let's see what he's got to say.
Tesla, we had a fascinating conversation last night with ARK Invest's futurist, who was pointing that, like many people, the value in Tesla is really around Robotaxi, and that the hardware and the auto company is something that's not really where you should be looking.
Pretty wild to hear Tim actually use the word Robotaxi and Tesla in the same sentence. So let's actually watch the clip he was referring to with ARK's futurist on Tesla Robotaxi.
Great. For more on Tesla, let's bring in Brett Winton, ARK Invest Chief Futurist. Tesla is the firm's top holding. Brett, great to speak with you.
Great to speak with you.
Tesla's about 12% of the portfolio. I'm wondering, Brett, I understand that you're a long-term investor. You want to see the Robotaxi story explained a little bit more, the lower production, lower cost vehicle, et cetera. Does the automotive business right now, have to work in order for those future bets to pay off?
Well, I love to hear the skepticism amongst the panel here, because nobody mentioned the most important data point, which is they reaffirmed the launch of Robotaxi in June.
Bro, this is amazing. Brett Winton of ARK Invest coming out swinging. Obviously, some context here. This was immediately after Tesla's recent company update / earnings. And obviously, there's been some discussion prior to the clip beginning, where the panel, discussing Tesla's call, failed to mention the fact that Tesla once again reiterated that they're launching Robotaxis in Austin in June, motherfuckers. And Brett wasn't mincing his words there, pointing out he loves to see the skepticism on the panel, which has been the story of CNBS discussing Tesla since I can remember. Hence, digging up that old clip of Tim. There was a time where almost everyone on CNBS not only thought Tesla was doomed, the competition was coming, but many of them were actively betting against the company, only to get financially ruined, walk funny for a few weeks, short the stock again, get ruined again, require surgery this time to repair their anus, spend months in recovery, then short the stock again. During this entire incredible sequence of events. It's like a dumb kid, right? Touch a hot plate once, kid learns, okay, don't do that again. But not these dumbasses on CNBS. Short Tesla stock, get wrecked, think it's a car company, the competition's coming, short it again, get wrecked, repeat. They just don't learn. The fact that Brett's appearing here and having to point out that the entire panel failed to even mention on Tesla's recent company update that they once again reiterated Robotaxis Austin June, motherfuckers, is just stunning. Now, of course, if I were a conspiracy theorist, which I'm not, what does that even mean anymore? Every conspiracy theory over the last 5 years has turned out to be true. But if I were a conspiracy theorist, I'd probably go and do some research about the largest advertisers in the finance media by industry and discover automotive companies near / at the top of the list. And then think, wait, hang on. You're telling me that car companies are spending hundreds of millions of dollars per year advertising just in the US, meaning they're buttering the bread on CNBS, and Tesla doesn't really spend any money advertising. Could that possibly influence any of the coverage at all regarding Tesla and their so-called competition? And then I think, yes, it probably would completely influence things. But obviously, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't even know why I said any of that stuff out loud. So my main point, I've never, at any point, watching CNBS coverage on Tesla, which has been a decade plus, ever seen the consensus on the CNBS panel from the anchors, the talking heads. I've never seen the consensus around Tesla make any sense. There's always been at least some degree of delusion, of cope, of being completely off the mark, ill-informed, not understanding, irrational and emotional. Not once have I seen the panel on average make sense. It's always skewed heavily toward doom and gloom. Skepticism, companies overvalued. Maybe there's accounting fraud. The competition's coming. No one wants to buy electric vehicles. Just on and on and on. This is yet another example. How in the flying fuck did the well-paid, slightly above average intelligence folks on CNBS hear a Tesla earnings call, react to the Tesla earnings call, and fail to mention Robotaxi's June Austin motherfuckers? I mean, this is the most monumental moment in the company's history. And Brett, as the guest, has had to remind them, hey retards, you didn't even say anything about Robotaxis in June. If I didn't know any better, I'd almost think that, on average, the folks on CNBS don't want to understand Tesla, don't want to be right about Tesla.
Austin. And the way to think about this, the automotive business is important because you need to deliver units into the market, which they already have millions in play, that will become prospective robotaxis as they software update the vehicles. The entire business model of this company is going to transform as and if Robotaxi launches, where you go from a one-time sale of the vehicle, as the panelists mentioned, at low margin, to generating ongoing revenue off of every vehicle in fleet over time. And it just transforms the business. So
I got to interrupt again. My spidey sense is tingling, right? I got a feeling, because I've seen this play out many times before. I mean, I haven't watched this particular clip, but I know where this is going. Odds are, after Brett points out that Tesla's entire business model will transform from low margin hardware sales, one-off revenue, one-off profit, to an insane money printing machine with recurring revenue, high margin revenue, there's only a few possible responses from the panel, none of which will be, oh shit, you might actually have a point. Please tell us more about this massive transformation of Tesla's business and financials. That ain't going to happen. His comments will absolutely be met with something along the lines of, but Brett, Tesla's so far behind in robotaxis, Waymo's ahead, the competition's not only coming, but they're already ahead of Tesla. Tesla's doomed, they won't take much market share, who cares, bro? Or just something extremely dismissive. Well, yeah, Brett, but that's so far into the future. What about their gross automotive margins and unit sales right now? They'll either be the subtlest, slightest possible half acknowledgement and then they'll move on, or they'll just totally dismiss his comments. And if Brett had said, this might create a slight improvement in Tesla's business overall, okay, you could understand. Who cares, bro? But bruh, he's talking about a complete transformation of Tesla's business. Selling hardware, making a bit of money, the end, to printing fuck tons of recurring revenue. Extremely high margin recurring revenue. Watch, as I'm almost certain, the panel barely touches on this and moves on, goes back to a funny point, or tries to explain how the competition's coming, or in some other way are just fairly dismissive of Brett's comments. I mean, I could be wrong. I'll leave this in if I am. I hope I am. But there's plenty of time left in this clip for them to actually linger and discuss Robotaxi. And in that short clip we saw, Tim did actually say that this guy, chief futurist from ARK Invest, was talking about Robotaxi. But is the panel really ready to acknowledge this? If so, this might be the first time in history on CNBS.
So the marginally important news is, can they launch and can they scale that business successfully? We think the evidence is in play that they can, given the acceleration in AI. And we think that delivering incremental vehicles into the market, for now is good to build up that base that will become robotaxis. And in the future, that'll become the robotaxi capability will be a demand driver for their production. They're actually going to be production constrained again to a material extent, in our view, once robotaxi begins to scale across the US.
Right. So, Brett, you love to hear the skepticism. I love to hear the optimism because as a futurist, it just seems like pie in the sky sort of stuff. I mean,
Now, did I not call it? Did I not say that the panel would likely be quite dismissive? He's just come on pie in the sky stuff. How could I possibly have seen this coming? Now, look, I'm just going to be honest. I actually think that Dan's entire job is just to be the laughing stock on this panel. I think his sole goal, it must be in his job description, say retarded, dumb, embarrassing things about Tesla, always remain negative. The entire world will think you're retarded, but you're getting paid a good salary, so just don't let anyone in on the secret that you're actually acting like a retard and you're not that dumb. Because surely nobody could possibly be as stupid as Dan. By the way, just body language. Look, a picture is worth 1,000 words here, bro. The look on Brett's face when met with this FUD tsunami from Dan. Anyway, I look forward to watching this interaction play out.
I mean that sincerely because you've been following this company, you've been invested in this company for a long time. And when have they ever hit any of the targets that you suggest? And by the way, you need to make this transition. And Mel started off asking the question, they have never had their core business so bad. It's never been this bad. And if it continues to get worse.
And did I also not call that one of the possible responses to this would be FUD, FUD, FUD? The core business so bad. Like, he's talking about the vehicle business right now with sky-high interest rates, between growth waves, introducing new, more affordable models. First half of this year, they begin production. And then, of course, Dan's super outrageous question, when have they ever met one of these targets? More often than not, actually, the Model Y launched ahead of schedule in 2014. Tesla says around 2020, should be doing around 500,000 vehicles per year. And they managed to hit that despite the scamdemic and the fascist shutdowns, cutting a meaningful amount of production in 2020. They told us years ago that the Model Y would become the world's best-selling vehicle first by revenue, then units. Tick, tick. I could keep going on all fucking day. But you don't hear about those. You just hear about the overly ambitious estimates on the timing around autonomy. And spoiler alert, when you're doing something that's never been done before, predicting the exact timing around that, not exactly easy. God, Dan is just so predictable. This is why I swear, he's like, I don't think he's real. He's playing the retard. He's not actually the retard, right? Because how did I predict exactly how he would respond? It's going to be challenging for Brett to keep a straight face and not call this guy retarded, by the way.
In a protracted trade war, you're just not going to have the ability to invest in Robotaxi and Optimus, whatever the other crap that you guys think is going to happen at some point.
See, the guy's just given himself up there. He's thrown crap out there, like just trying to discredit Optimus as if it's a non-serious project. Like, this is just too good. And Brett really is. Again, the body language just really sums it up. All you can do is laugh at Dan, all right? I might add, just by the way, I'm not just going to keep poking fun at the absolute emotional tsunami that's come out of Dan. He's attempted to imply that, Tesla's core business is imploding, therefore they can't possibly even invest in autonomy. A couple of things. One, the software is already operating, right? They've already got a fleet of 7+ million vehicles collecting data and training. They don't need to, quote, invest more in autonomy. They're continually collecting data. They've got that flywheel already underway. Furthermore, those 7+ million vehicles on roads today with the software update can operate autonomously. They don't need to build new vehicles to potentially operate as robotaxis. There's already millions of them on roads. Furthermore, Tesla's got $37 billion of cash and investments. That's a fuck ton of money for investing in the future. This, by the way, despite aggressively investing in scale, including the Optimus humanoid robot project. And then, of course, there's Optimus itself, which Dan dismissed as crap. The brain from the vehicle has been transplanted into Optimus. Tesla's working on early production lines for Optimus now. The bulk of the work there is done. It's now just a matter of building production systems, getting a finalized V1, and then ramping production. If Tesla literally stopped producing vehicles today, I mean literally no more, none, zero, they could still launch their Robotaxi service and scale widely. Like I said, over 7 million vehicles on roads, and successfully scale up Optimus. Nothing Dan has said so far makes any sense. Although nothing Dan's ever said about Tesla's made any sense, to be fair.
Point. So I'm just curious how you think of that, because you are the futurist, and I guess maybe I sound a little cynical.
Not cynical, just extremely retarded.
Well, one, I think you're wrong that their business has never been in worse shape. If you look at their share of overall vehicle sales, they're roughly flat. Trailing 12-month vehicle sales, they're roughly flat. As they deliver a lower cost vehicle, they should be able to sell more units in, just on the kind of demand elasticity curve. And as they continue to drive down production costs, I think they'll deliver less costly vehicles to the market. And those vehicles will be utilized more. The fundamental case is when you buy a new car, you're basically buying a bundle of miles at 75 cents a mile. If you could have somebody drive you around for $1 a mile, that's a great deal, and everybody will take that. And so once robo-taxis in the market, then they become a point-to-point transportation provider rather than just a seller of hardware assets. And it just transforms the business model and begins to spit off cash flow to fund Optimus and to continue to fund the AI data center. So we don't see any cash flow issue for the business at all in terms of their ability to fund ongoing CapEx and R&D operations.
Brett, we're just about out of time, but in order for me to understand your bet.
Okay, so before we hear from Melissa Lee, I do have to give her credit. She generally asks reasonable questions. She doesn't often display any extreme bias either way. And she also absolutely doesn't even try to hide the fact that she knows that Dan, the very negative clown who was just anti-Tesla, is retarded. In fact, she tends to provoke him to go on his retarded emotional anti-Tesla rants almost for entertainment purposes. It's a recurring theme. Now, I don't know whether or not she's going to prompt Dan to have another unhinged rant here, but I hope she does. But just give him credit here. She tends to ask pretty good questions, fairly neutral, and just shut up and let people talk. But please, Melissa, prod Dan one more time, please.
On the Robotaxi, I have to understand what you think the Robotaxi business will look like, because it seems like there are barriers that Tesla cannot control when it comes to, regulate local laws regarding self-driving vehicles, what sort of platform it will use to interface with potential people who want to take Robotaxi rides. I just don't understand how this actually will operate.
Well, Waymo's operating today, and the only reason they're not at larger scale is they don't have enough hardware assets. Waymo's great. I ride it in LA all the time. I would trust my kids in a Waymo, whereas I wouldn't in an Uber. Tesla has a benefit against Waymo in that they're going to be able to deliver a less costly hardware asset, which will determine their price per mile they're able to charge. Waymo is still charging Uber-like prices, and they have an abundance of assets. So you won't have to wait 10 or 15 minutes to get a Tesla Robotaxi. It'll be available immediately. We think Tesla is going to launch their own app that people will download and use in competition with Uber and Lyft, and that individual owners will be incentivized to put their vehicle into the fleet to make a few extra bucks on the car that they already own. And that's how Tesla will complete its network, whereas Waymo has to partner with the likes of Uber to do so. So Waymo's already basically cut down the wheat in the regulatory pathway. And we think they're going to launch Texas and California this year. Those are two very big states. So they'll have a lot of ability to scale within those and probably multiple states over the course of the next few years.
I'm on the same page as ARK Invest and Brett here. Texas and California, Robotaxi launched this year for Tesla, inevitable, and they are massive states. And California alone is larger than many countries. And Brett's most important point there, Tesla already has an abundance of hardware, e.g. vehicles, on roads. They don't need to pay another company to produce them like Waymo does. He also pointed out, although he didn't really emphasize it too much, because of Tesla's much lower hardware cost, they'll be able to charge a much lower cost per mile. And if you can't read between the lines, Waymo's losing money per mile today, charging roughly the same as an Uber. Imagine what happens when Tesla's scaling and can offer a comparable or better service with comparable or lower wait times for a literal fraction the cost of a Waymo or an Uber or a taxi. G. And what I find most remarkable is even after Tesla's recent company update, where they, again, point out, guys, Austin, June, motherfuckers, Robotaxis, there are still people today who, like Dan, just does not compute. They're focused on Tesla's automotive business, ignoring the fact that we do have sky-high interest rates and more affordable vehicles are coming, and Tesla is between growth waves. They completely focus on the automotive business, but ignore many of the factors relating to the current situation, which is, as Brett points out, right, vehicle sales are roughly flat year over year. More affordable vehicles will push that further. And then obviously as rates come down over time, more people can afford, big surge again. But they only care about a portion of the automotive business without understanding any of the factors contributing to automotive sales being roughly flat. They ignore the Model Y changeover and think, oh, demand's collapsing. And it's like they either don't know Robotaxis are launching Austin in June, or they do, but they just maybe don't have the grey matter to comprehend what that actually means for Tesla's business and their financials in the future. I don't get it. I mean, I really don't get it. The fact that Brett had to remind these people at the beginning, guys, you forgot to mention the Robotaxis in June, you fucking idiots. It's unbelievable. Nothing further to add. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.